Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a really powerful, and I mean powerful, tool from the world of emergency medicine, hypertonic fluids. Now, these are not your everyday IV bags for getting hydrated. No, these are a very specific, life-saving intervention designed to solve a huge problem that's happening at the microscopic level.
Okay, so picture this. You're in a critical emergency. The real danger isn't a wound you can see on the outside. Instead, there's a crisis unfolding deep inside the patient's own cells. And you're in a race against the clock where the entire battlefield is microscopic.
The condition we're talking about is called cerebral edema. It's when the cells in the brain start to swell up with fluid. Now think about it. The brain is locked inside the skull. There's no room to expand. So as those cells swell, the pressure inside the head can become catastrophic really, really fast. The big question is, how on earth do you fix that? Well, the answer isn't what you might think. It's not a scalpel or some complex surgery. It's actually a pretty elegant, surprisingly simple application of basic chemistry and biology. The whole strategy is about creating a very specific and very carefully controlled imbalance in the body.
So the goal is super straightforward. These cells are dangerously waterlogged, and you have got to get that excess water out of them, and you have to do it now. The real challenge, though, is how do you convince all that water to leave the cells all on its own?
And the tool for the job is a special kind of IV fluid. Again, this isn't for just getting some fluids in you. This is a potent medication with one very specific purpose, and its power comes from a really fundamental principle of science.
All right, let's get into the science of how this all works. The science of shrinking, you could call it. It really just comes down to using the body's own physical laws to our advantage. It's pretty clever.
So what does hypertonic actually mean? It's simpler than it sounds. It just means the fluid has more stuff dissolved in it. Solutes like salt or sugar than our blood normally does. And that simple difference, well, that's everything.
This is where the magic happens. By putting this super concentrated fluid into the bloodstream, you create this powerful imbalance, a gradient, between the blood and the cells around it. And if there's one thing biology doesn't like, it's an imbalance like that. It has to be fixed.
And how does the body fix it? Well, water does the only thing it can. It moves. Through a process called osmosis, water literally gets pulled out of those swollen cells and rushes into the bloodstream, trying to dilute that more concentrated solution. It's almost like a magnetic pull.
And the result is immediate and exactly what you need. As all that water leaves the cells, they shrink, hopefully back towards their normal size. And for a swelling brain, this is a huge deal. It means that dangerous pressure inside the skull is finally relieved.
Okay, so we get the principle behind it, but what are these tools of the trade in the real world? What would you actually see hanging on an IV pole in an ICU or an emergency room?
You'd probably see bags labeled with names like these: 3% sodium chloride, which is basically just very, very salty water, or something like D10W, which is a high concentration of dextrose, sugar. Each one is a specialized hypertonic tool designed for these really specific high-stakes situations.
And here are those exact situations. We've talked a lot about cerebral edema, that brain swelling, but they're also used for something called severe hyponatremia, which is a condition where the body's sodium levels get dangerously low. You can see these are not your everyday problems. They are life or death emergencies.
Now, because these fluids are so incredibly powerful, you have to use them with an equal amount of caution and expertise. This is absolutely not a tool you just use lightly. So, what's the most important rule? It's this: you have to give these fluids slowly and meticulously. I mean, think about it. If you shift the body's fluid and electrolyte balance too quickly, you don't solve the problem. You just create a brand new one that's just as dangerous.
So while this is happening, the clinical team is on high alert. They're watching like hawks for any sign of fluid overload, in the lungs. They're constantly checking for dangerous swings in electrolytes, and they're watching the patient's neurological status second by second.
So the distinction here is absolutely critical. These fluids are only for severe acute emergencies and always under constant, close monitoring. They are absolutely not for routine hydration, and they can be extremely dangerous for patients whose heart or kidneys can't handle that kind of massive fluid shift.
If you take away just one thing from all this, let it be this simple, powerful idea. Hypertonic means high solute, which pulls water out of cells, which makes the cells shrink. That's the whole game right there, in a nutshell.
And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to think about: this whole principle of manipulating the body's natural gradients. It's a cornerstone of so much in medicine.
So what other treatments can you think of that use this very same fundamental idea to help the body heal itself? It's something to chew on.